everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the Remnant Trilogy by, I always forget who it is by, Tim Chaffey and K. Marie Adams. These are three fictionalized books about Noah from the Bible. They are kind of a retelling almost, or like an imagination of what his life was like up until the actual flood. So the first book is Noah, Man of Destiny. The second book is Noah, Man of Resolve. And the third book is Noah, Man of God. So, like I said, these are an imagination of what Noah's life might have been like. There's not a lot of details in the Bible of what Noah's life was like up until the ark, and even like in building the ark, there's still not a lot of description of like the time that it took to build it, or the like how that would have affected them. And so these books attempt to do that. I bought them at the Ark Encounter, which is in Kentucky, and is amazing. If you have never been, please go. They built a life-size ark, and they have animatronic animals in there, and you can just see how massive this thing is. It's really, really cool. So I bought these books there, and I didn't love them. They do what they're trying to do, and I'm just going to hold the first book because that's a lot to hold. So it does its job in making Noah seem human and giving him, family, giving him situations that he has to deal with, giving him faults, and showing how he has to grow as a person. But I think the thing that bothered me the most is the way that they wrote in the time jumps. So, because Noah is like 500 or 600 when the flood finally comes, and also when he starts building the ark, it starts when he is 49. That's a lot of time to go through in 3 books. And so you have a necessity for jumping in time. But I think the thing that bothered me was it wasn't always very well done. There were a couple times where I was like, okay, this makes sense. But like there was one time where he had been on a journey and was looking forward to coming home with and be with his wife. And then it skips 5 years in the future. And I was like, I kind of wanted to see that reunion of Noah and his wife, because there was stuff that had just happened to him that was very important. And I wanted to see that really get explained to him explaining it to his wife, and how would his wife react, and how is their relationship going to change based on what he experienced on that journey. And so I think that was something that really bothered me, was the time jumps were not always very well done. The wedding scene was my favorite out of all 3 books. The scene where Noah gets married to his wife is so cute, so beautiful. I really, really liked that ceremony that they made. It was just very well written. And then there's also a scene in the second book, I believe it is, with a seduction that kind of happens in a way. And I found that really good, very well written as well. But there were just a lot of other things that annoyed me about the writing style. It was just, it felt much more telling than showing. Because of the time jump, then the first bit of the next chapter would be, okay, here's kind of what you missed in the 5 years that you just time jumped. And so it was a little bit hard to follow in some ways because of the time jumps. I enjoyed all the banter. There was a lot of banter between Noah and his friends that I quite enjoyed. There was a twist in people who died in the second book that I was not expecting whatsoever. And you kind of know in the third book that, people are going to die or split up from Noah and his family, because Noah and his family, Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives are the only people who end up on the ark. And so you kind of know that, people are going to split up and stuff. But there was definitely some stuff that happened in the second book that I was not expecting. Something I really liked about these books is in the back they have 3 different sections. So the first one is answers to questions that, answering questions raised by the novel. And so they have this whole section in the back about things that people might wonder when reading this book. And the authors, usually, I think it's Tim Chaffey usually writing the answers, but it's potential answers to those questions, or having to do with like why they portrayed certain things certain ways. So like the first question is, did people before the flood really live over 900 years? And so they go into an explanation of how long we have records of people living and why they chose to make a certain character want to live 1,000 years, you know? So I found that really interesting. And also they say over and over again in those back parts in the end of the books, that one of their goals in writing these books is to challenge some, not necessarily some false beliefs about that Christians hold about the flood. So, like, one of them is that Noah built the ark in 120 years, or that, like, he only lived 120 years, or so there's something to do with 120 years, and they kind of explain why that is usually portrayed, and why they don't believe that that is true. Another one is that I found really interesting is, like, did it rain before the flood? Like, did people know what rain was before the flood? Because a lot of Christians hold the belief that, like, there was no rain before the flood, water just came out of the ground. And so they kind of explain why they think that there was rain. Yeah, it was just very interesting. So that's the first section. The second section of the back of the books, is called Encounter This, and it's things that coincide with things in the Ark Encounter. And so if you're reading this like really soon after you've been to the Ark Encounter, or like you read it before you go to the Ark Encounter, you'll be able to match up certain things, like certain creatures or certain like different things that they have in the Ark Encounter, which I thought was really cool. Not very helpful for me since I went there like a year ago, but it was still neat that they have that. And then the last one is called Borrowed from the Bible. And so this is a section where they talk about like things that they took from maybe different places or like based off of. So like I said, there was like kind of a seduction scene, and so they kind of base it off of Potiphar's wife and Joseph in Joseph's story. So there's things that like that, and I really I'm very glad that the authors thought to do that. It makes them more trustworthy and allows them to explain why they did certain things. Like I said, I just didn't love them. I wish they'd been a little bit better written. I think if you're going to the Ark Encounter, you're better off saving your money and buying one of their other books. They have a lot of other books. Maybe I bought this at the Creation Museum. It's possible that I actually bought it at the Creation Museum, which is connected kind of to the Ark Encounter. It's the same people that make the Creation Museum, which is also a really amazing place to go. But, yeah, I would say save your money and buy something else, but if you do have somebody who's really young and who's interested in this kind of thing, maybe then go for it. It was really cool. Something else that helped me to visualize the people is, this is totally unrelated, but Sight and Sound Theaters has a production of Noah that you can buy on their website, which it's a musical. It's a big Broadway-style musical version of the story of Noah. And something that they brought up in that wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was a little bit brought up in these books as well, is how hard it would have been to leave family and friends behind on a world that's going to be destroyed when you are safe in the Ark. So there's a whole scene of that in the Sight and Sound version of Noah, which I found really impactful. And so you see that throughout, especially the third book, as like they start building the Ark and things get closer and closer. So I think that's all I have to say about the Noah books. Overall, they weren't my favorite, but I am glad that I read them and have a resource that I can go to if people ever want to ask questions about the flood or the Ark or anything like that. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I would love to talk to you about them. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description as always. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!